person who's going to be President of the United States of America. I so look forward to the day that we can call her Madam President Hillary Rodham Clinton. Hillary, Hillary, Hillary.
Wow. I am so happy to be back here and to be here with all of you. I am thrilled, and I can't thank you enough. And it's a special privilege and pleasure to be introduced by my friend and such a great leader, someone who has served not only this state so well, but also our country. And so I want to thank, once again, I want to thank former Senator and former Secretary Ken Salazar. And I also want to thank somebody else who's here who is really special and is doing such a great job for all of you. And that is your senator, and I hope you will get out and send him back to Washington, Michael Bennet. I also want to recognize someone who's running a great race for Congress, Gail Schwartz. I was thinking the first time I came to this beautiful place and had a chance to meet people from here was in 1992. I was here for somebody else, namely my husband, who was running for president. And I know there are a lot of really young people here, but was anybody here back in 1992? Well, Bill and I talk about Pueblo all the time, and it is always a treat for either one of us to come. And today it's especially important because we are getting closer and closer and closer to the next election, and we're also very conscious of the fact that here in Colorado, for the first time, you are all going to be able to vote by mail. And this Monday, October 17th, ballots will start being mailed to Colorado voters. Now, if you've already registered to vote, I hope you'll keep your eye open for the mail and fill out your ballot, send it back as quick as you can. Don't wait to fill it out. don't do what I do, put it on the kitchen counter, and then you put something else on top of it and something else, and pretty soon you're wondering, where is that ballot? I know it came here a few days ago. So please put it in the mail so we can get every early vote counted quickly and avoid a big backlog on election night. And maybe if you haven't registered to vote yet, please do it right now. And if you go to iwillvote.com, you can do that on your phones. You do that right now. You can get registered. Pretty easy, huh? Because we need everybody to vote in this election, and we need your friends and your family and your neighbors and everyone you can reach, because this is about something so important. I don't know that there's ever been a more serious or consequential election, and we can see that people feel that way because across America, people are already voting in high numbers. A lot of states have what's called early vote, and the numbers are bigger than anybody thought and bigger than they've been in the past. Just this morning in Ohio, people began lining up last night so they could be sure to vote. They couldn't wait to cast their ballots. And by the time we're done, we expect record numbers of people to vote in this presidential election. So don't be left out, because we need you. And oh, by the way, if you've got friends in Utah or Arizona, make sure they vote too. We are competing everywhere, and the polls are tightening, because I think Americans want to turn out in as big a number as possible to reject the dark and divisive and hateful campaign that is being run by my opponent. And you know, your vote can make all the difference. I was in Florida yesterday with former Vice President Gore. And as he said yesterday, take it from him, every vote counts. So don't sit this one out. And I'm very proud of the campaign we've run. I'm proud of the campaign Bernie Sanders and I ran. It was about issues, not insults. We were setting forth a positive agenda that would help America and help millions and millions of Americans get ahead and stay ahead. And to me, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to bring people together. We're supposed to unify our country. We're supposed to solve our problems by working together. And I know it's been a long race, but as soon as our primary finished, Senator Sanders and I got together and came up with a plan to make college affordable and pay back student debt, provide more health care. And we have done our best to stay out of all the meanness. You know, the other night, did any of you see that last debate? Well, I was watching my opponent just go lower and lower and lower, and I was reminded of what my friend and our First Lady, Michelle Obama, says. When they go low, we go high. And I want you to know, I want to be the president for everyone. I am tired of all the divisions and the barriers. I want to bring people together across our party lines, across any lines that divide us, and not just people who vote for me. I want to be the president, yes, for Democrats, but also Republicans and independents. And I am very grateful for all of the Republicans who are supporting me. And I I'm very appreciative of all of the newspapers that are endorsing me, some of whom have never endorsed a Democrat before. So we're going to keep running this campaign. I want to give you something to vote for, not just something to vote against. And during these next 28 days, we're going to crisscross our country. We're going to be talking about what we can do together. But Donald Trump is taking a very different tone. His campaign said today that they're going to use a, quote, scorched earth strategy for the remaining 4 weeks of this race. Now that just shows how desperate they are. That's all they have left. Pure negativity, pessimism, and we're not going to let Donald Trump get away with it, are we? I don't care what he says about me. I care about what he says about you. And I'll tell you what, I will stand up and defend every single person in this country from the insults and the disrespect that we hear from him. Now, the whole world has heard how Donald Trump treats women and what he thinks of women, and he is doubling down on his excuse that it's just, quote, locker room talk. Well, you know what happened? It just kind of happened spontaneously. A lot of athletes and coaches started posting on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I mean, the National Basketball Association, Major League Baseball, the NFL, and more, they are coming together and they're saying, that doesn't happen in our locker rooms. But of course, you know, it's not only women that he has disrespected. He's insulted practically everybody. He went after a distinguished federal judge, Judge Curiel, who was born in Indiana, and Trump said, well, he couldn't be trusted because his parents were Mexican. He has targeted immigrants, African Americans, Latinos. He's targeted POWs, people with disabilities, Muslims, and so many others. And every time he does that, I get somebody who is worried or scared writing me a letter or talking to me, and especially children. It's really who Donald Trump is. But when you scare children, you know, like a little boy, his mother wrote to me, she had adopted him from Ethiopia when he was a toddler. There were a lot of children in Ethiopia that were no longer able to live with families. Their parents, their grandparents were not around. And a lot of Americans have adopted children in need like that. And this little boy named Felix is now 10 years old. He's only lived in the United States. And his mother wrote me, and she said, after hearing Donald Trump, he turned to her and he said, Mommy, will he send me back to Ethiopia? That's the kind of fear and anxiety that I hear from immigrant families who are scared to death, especially the children, that Donald Trump is going to put together a big deportation force and go door to door, school to school, business to business, home to home. And it is hard to explain to children. And so I hope that if you know any children who are listening and watching and hearing some of what is said, you will reassure them. I want every boy and girl to know the American dream is big enough for you, and there is a place in America for you. And that in this election, we will demonstrate that America is better than what Donald Trump says and represents. here's what I also want you to know. We have a big difference about how best to get the economy going. You know, Trump wants to give trillions and trillions in tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. You know, that's called trickle-down economics, but as with anything when it comes to Donald Trump, he wants to have the biggest tax breaks for the wealthy and corporations than we have ever had. So I believe differently. We're going to invest in the middle class. We're going to invest in you, in your jobs, in your future. You do have to feel a little sorry for them. They've had a really bad couple of weeks. But you know, part of the difference in how we see the economy, I think, comes from our experiences. You know, Donald grew up the son of a millionaire. He got started in business by borrowing $14 million from his dad. So it's not a surprise he wants to keep giving back to the wealthy, because that's his own experience. I grew up differently. My father was a factory worker. My grandfather was a factory worker. My father was a small businessman. I know how hard they worked, and I am grateful for the middle-class life that they gave us, and that's what I want to make sure everybody gets. That's why I believe we got to get the economy working for everybody, not just those at the top, and we're going to focus on those issues. We're going to make it possible to have more good jobs in infrastructure. We need to fix our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our ports, and our airports. And we need to make sure that the rich pay their fair share, because here's what we've learned. Donald Trump hasn't paid a penny in federal income tax in years. Now, this is all allegedly because, of course, we don't know for sure because he won't release his income taxes, but it's allegedly because he lost $1 billion running casinos. Now I ask you, who loses $1 billion running casinos, right? Do you know how hard that is? But think about it. It means he's contributed zero. Zero for our military, zero for our vets, zero for education and health. And he has the gall to go around disrespecting our military. He calls the United States military a disaster. Well, the only disaster is somebody who can get away with paying no taxes and have the gall to run for president and criticize all the rest of us who have done our part to support America. Now, you've all heard his slogan, "Make America Great Again," right? Well, that would have maybe some truth to it if he made anything in America, and if he bought things that are made in America. There are so many examples, but let me just give you one, which is close to your hearts, because Pueblo is one of the largest steel producing cities in America, right? So you know how important it is to support our steel workers and our steel industry. Now, Trump is the guy who went around for a year talking about how he was on the side of workers and all the rest of it. No truth to it, but, you know, he did say it over and over again. And we've slowly but surely uncovered how little he's done to help anybody except Donald Trump. And he has bought Chinese steel for his buildings, not American steel. He could be buying American steel. He should be buying American steel. If he wants to make America great again, start by making America with American steel. I have a very different idea, and in addition to jobs and infrastructure, which uses American steel, We're going to do more on advanced manufacturing, on technology and innovation, on clean energy jobs. And we're going to make the economy fairer at the same time. And here's what I want the young people and their families to hear. Senator Sanders and I got together on a plan. We are going to make public college tuition free for working families and debt-free for everyone else. If you already have debt because you're trying to get your education, we're going to help you refinance it. It is wrong that you can refinance a home and refinance a car, but you can't refinance your student debt. And we're going to make it possible for you to pay it back as a percentage of your income. Now, based on this plan, we will save millions of people thousands of dollars. And you can go to HillaryClinton.com/calculator to see how much you and your family can save. Because we want to liberate young people and families from the burden of college debt. And we're also going to make the economy fairer by raising the national minimum wage so people who work full-time won't be in poverty. And we're going to expand Social Security for those who need it the most, low-income seniors and widowed women. And we are going to pass comprehensive immigration reform. I'm going to introduce reform. I can't wait to work with Senator Bennett. I can't wait to have a chance to make sure that we are working on immigration reform from the very beginning. We're going to finally help dreamers achieve their dream of following their future and becoming American citizens. I also think it is past time, don't you, to guarantee equal pay for women's work? You know, I started talking about equal pay years and years and years ago because it's not only a woman's issue, it's a family issue. If you have a wife or a daughter or a mother or a sister, it's your issue, right? You know that. So Donald Trump always says, you know, I'm playing the woman's card, and my response is pretty simple. If being for equal pay and affordable child care and paid family leave is playing the woman's card, then deal me in. You see, I am very excited. I am very excited about what we could do. You know, I give President Obama a lot of credit. He inherited the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. I mean, I remember, because he called and asked me to come see him shortly after the election. I didn't know why he wanted me to be Secretary of State, but I didn't know that. But I got there. The first thing he says, it is so much worse than they told us. And it was. I mean, you remember, it was terrible. Millions of people lost their jobs and homes were lost, and it was just a horrible time. Well, we have dug ourselves out of that ditch thanks to everybody's hard work. And we can't ever go back there because, believe me, trickle-down economics and refusing to regulate Wall Street and the mortgage market is what got us into that mess in the first place. And Donald Trump wants to get rid of the new rules on Wall Street. He wants to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which returns money to people who've been defrauded by big companies. Well, I have a totally different view. We're going to keep those, and then we're going to tell companies that try to move jobs out of our country that if they try to, they're going to have to pay an exit tax and return every penny of tax benefit they've ever gotten. And I've been very clear about how we're going to pay for what I want to do. It is going to be going after the wealthy, closing the loopholes on corporations. I can pledge to you I will never raise middle-class federal taxes. It is not right. And what I've been trying to do, listening to people around the country, is figure out what we can do to help you with what I call kitchen table issues. And we thank you very much. But right now, thank you. You know, I always feel so welcome when I come to Pueblo. I think I'll come here anytime it gets hard in the White House. What do you say? Finally, I want to tell you that I want to make it easier for you to raise your kids. You know, there's nothing more important. I'm now a grandmother of two wonderful grandchildren, a little girl and a little boy, and there are too many hardworking families struggling with the cost of raising children. So right now, most families with kids get something called the child tax credit. It gives a middle-class family $1,000 per child to help you defray the costs. I'm going to double the child tax credit. That's another $1,000 for young kids to pay for the things you need, whether it's child care, housing, prescription drugs, groceries, or anything else. It is just one example of the tax relief I want to give to working families, and we're going to make sure that it gets to the people who need it most. We're going to lift families out of poverty. In fact, the changes I'm proposing we think will automatically help more people get out of poverty, and we're going to look for other ways to help you. What I'm interested in is your success, your futures, your possibilities, your dreams. I want to be a president who makes it possible for more people to feel like they're really moving and their kids are going to have better lives. That's how I was raised. That's what I want for you and every single family, every single child in America. So we have about 4 weeks to go. It's going to be a race to the finish line, my friends. And here's what I want to ask you. As I said in the beginning, think about everything that's important to you. Whether it's jobs and rising incomes, whether it's education, healthcare, whatever it might be, whether it's protecting our rights, people who have fought so hard, whether it's immigration reform, whatever it might be, think about it, because you know what? Those issues will be on the ballot. They may not be listed there, but you could not have two more different people running for president than me and Donald Trump. I know that if people turn out, I know if people show up, we're going to win and we're going to be able to do everything I've talked about. And so it all comes down to whether or not you take that ballot you get in the mail, you fill it in, you send it back, you do everything you can to make sure that your vote will be counted. You know, when I think about this election, I do think about my grandchildren a lot. Yeah, you too, right? I'll tell you what, for those of you who aren't grandparents yet, it is an incredible experience, right? And there's nothing I wouldn't do for them. As I like to say, FaceTime was invented for grandparents, and you get to check in and see how they're doing. But more than that, what kind of lives are they going to have, and what kind of country is going to be waiting for them? And I know how important it is that families and communities and our country stand behind every child. Make sure every child has a good education, a good school, good teachers in every zip code in America. Make sure every child has the health care that he or she needs. That's why I work to create the Children's Health Insurance Program so we can take care of millions of children. That's why every family deserves to have a good job with a good income to be able to be good providers for their kids. I got into this work so many years ago. I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund right out of law school. And I spent my time trying to figure out how you even the odds for all kids. And the reason I did that is because of my own mother. You know, I didn't know it when I was just a little girl, but I learned as I got older that my mother was abandoned and neglected by her parents and pretty much left on her own. And then at the age of 8, holding her little 3-year-old sister's hand, she was put on a train by themselves to go to California to live with grandparents. It turned out the grandparents didn't really want her either. So by the age of 14, she was working in a house as a maid and a babysitter. But here's what I want you to know. It sounds pretty harsh. It was difficult. It made a profound impression on her life. I think my mom, who lived to a wonderful age of 92, I don't think there was a day that went by that she didn't think about being abandoned and being sent away and pretty much left on her own. But along the way, people were kind to her. People helped her. The first grade teacher who brought lunch for her every day because my mother never had any. The woman whose house she went to work in all those years ago knew my mother wanted to go to high school. So she said to her, Dorothy, if you get up early and you get your chores done, you can go to high school. Now you'll have to come right back home. That might sound kind of unfortunate, but for my mom it was a gift because she really wanted to go to high school. And so my mother always cared about other people. And she taught me in every way she could that nobody is better than anybody else, right? And we need to show each other more kindness and support. And the last thing we need in our country are more bullies, making people feel bad about themselves and pushing people away. We should be drawing people toward us. We should be creating the kind of future we want for every one of our children. That's what I think about when I imagine, if I'm so fortunate enough to become president, I think about waking up. I think about waking up in the White House every morning trying to figure out what can I do to help somebody else? And who can I work with? How many families and communities across America will work with us to come up with ideas that give every single child the chance to live up to his or her God-given potential? That's what I think we are called to do. Whether you're a person of faith or not, the American dream is really premised on people coming together to lift each other up. Nobody makes it alone. Everybody has somebody who helps them along the way. So let's pull together, Pueblo. Let's get out and vote for the kind of positive future we want for ourselves and our children. God bless you. Thank you.